Imagine a world with no pain, no war, no sickness, and no death. Mountains stood in perfect peace, rivers sparkled with crystal clear water, and every creature lived in complete harmony. The wind carried the fragrance of endless life, and every sunrise reflected the glory of the Almighty God. This was the first morning of creation. Adam would pause beneath the trees of Eden, watching golden sunlight filter through the leaves. Eve smiled as gentle animals gathered around her without fear. "We've been given everything," Eve whispered. Adam looked across the garden and replied, "We weren't just created, we were deeply loved." But one quiet day, a new voice entered paradise. A beautiful and cunning serpent whispered a single question that would change human history forever. Did God really say? Doubt entered the human heart for the very first time. One choice, one act of disobedience shattered perfection. Suddenly, innocence became shame, peace became fear, and the Garden of Eden became a memory they could never return to. With tears in their eyes, Adam and Eve walked away as a flaming sword guarded the entrance behind them. The distance between heaven and humanity had begun. Time passed and Eve gave birth to her first son, Cain. Holding him in her arms, she felt both joy and the painful reality of a broken world. Later, Abel was born, gentle in spirit and devoted to God. The brothers grew up on the same land but developed very different hearts. Abel became a shepherd who always brought the very best from his flock as an offering to God. Cain worked the fields and believed the fruit of the ground was enough. One day, both brothers stood before the Lord with their offerings. God looked with favor at Abel's sacrifice because it came from faith and wholehearted devotion. But Cain's offering revealed a heart filled with pride instead of trust. Anger began to consume him. God warned him with mercy. "Why are you angry? If you do what is right, you will be accepted. But if you refuse, sin is waiting at your door. It wants to control you, but you must master it." Cain ignored the warning. He invited Abel into the field, and there, jealousy became violence. For the first time in history, innocent blood soaked the earth. The world fell silent. Then God called out, "Cain, where is your brother Abel?" Cain answered, "I don't know. Am I my brother's keeper?" From that moment, sin spread across the earth like wildfire. Generation after generation moved farther away from God. Violence replaced kindness, greed replaced gratitude, and corruption filled every city and every family. People chased their own desires, ignoring the Creator who had given them life. Yet in the middle of a broken generation, one man walked faithfully with God. His name was Noah. As the world mocked righteousness, Noah chose obedience. As evil reached every corner of the earth, God prepared both judgment and salvation. The coming flood would wipe away a corrupt world, but it would also reveal an eternal truth. God is perfectly just, yet overflowing with mercy. There was a time when the world slowly forgot its creator. People no longer searched for the Almighty. They searched for power, fame, and the chance to become greater than everyone else. Pride replaced faith, and violence replaced love. Yet hope had not completely disappeared. In the days of Enos, small groups of people still gathered to call upon the name of the Almighty. Their prayers rose into the sky like tiny flames fighting against an endless night. But creation itself was beginning to suffer. The forests seemed less alive, the skies looked dull, animals became restless, and the earth trembled beneath mankind's corruption. Then mysterious stories spread from village to village. They spoke of heavenly beings called the Watchers, angels sent to observe humanity. But instead of remaining faithful, they desired the beauty of human women and abandoned their holy purpose. On the summit of Mount Hermon, they made a forbidden oath. 200 watchers promised that none of them would return until they had taken wives from among mankind. When they descended, people believed gods had arrived. Their garments shined like light, their voices echoed like distant thunder, and their eyes seemed to look deep into every soul. Soon children were born from these unions. They were enormous, powerful, and filled with pride. People called them the Nephilim. Cities honored them as heroes, but behind their strength was endless hunger and cruelty. They consumed everything around them, and when food became scarce, they turned against humanity itself. Fear ruled the earth. Yet one man continued to speak without fear. His name was Enoch. He warned every generation that the Almighty had seen every secret and every act of violence. He declared that judgment would surely come upon the Watchers and upon the giants who filled the earth with bloodshed. Many laughed at him, many mocked him, but Enoch kept writing his visions on stone and leather, describing heavenly armies and the day when justice would finally arrive. Then one day, Enoch simply disappeared. People searched for him but never found him again. It was said that the Almighty had taken him into his presence. After Enoch was gone, darkness spread even faster. The Watchers continued teaching forbidden knowledge. Magic, violence, and corruption covered the nations. Innocent blood cried out from the ground, and even nature seemed to mourn. The earth groaned under the weight of evil. Then the Almighty called his holy angels. The command was clear. The Watchers will be bound, the giants will fall, the earth will be cleansed. The heavenly messengers prepared for judgment, but humanity continued to rebel. People built monuments to themselves instead of worshiping their Creator. They trusted their own strength and ignored every warning. It seemed as if the whole world was rushing toward destruction. But in the middle of all this darkness, one family remained faithful. They came from the line of Seth, still remembering the Creator's ways. Among them lived a quiet man. He was not a king, he was not a warrior. He simply worked with his hands, cared for his fields, and listened carefully whenever the wind whispered through the trees. His name was Noah. Every day, Noah walked the land with honest hands and a peaceful heart. Neighbors laughed at him, calling him old-fashioned and foolish. They believed power belonged to giants and rulers, not to a humble farmer. But Noah carried a secret that no one else understood. When the world shouted, he remained silent, and in that silence, he heard the voice of the Almighty. That voice would soon ask him